Please submit your resignation as soon as possible. You've been fired already. The sound of my manager, Harvey's irate voice, reverberated throughout the workplace. The arrangement with a large hotel chain was for $15 million. I was late for the meeting because I stopped on the way to the location to assist an old man who had passed out and get him into an ambulance. The contract was terminated and a $500,000 penalty was assessed. To exacerbate the situation, Harvey produced proof that implicated me in wrongdoing. For 7 years, I had been employed as a sales representative for a company that made towels. Quality first, which had always been my philosophy, was my commitment to make customers happy. Now, however, everything I had fought for was being rejected outright. I gave Harvey my letter of resignation with shaking hands. I believed that this was the time when my life would take a drastic turn for the worst. However, would you think about joining our team? 10 times your current pay is what we'll offer you. Please. The client company's secretary, a breathtakingly attractive woman, firmly gripped my hands and begged. I had no idea that the decision I made at that precise moment would result in surprising meetings, settle old grudges, and usher in a new era of my life. Isaac is my name. I work in the sales division of Summit Textiles, a reputable business that specializes in fabric goods, mostly premium towels for upscale hotels and inns. Summit Textiles is renowned for producing personalized goods by applying cutting-edge weaving and dyeing methods to satisfy customer demands. Over the course of its 80-year history, the company has maintained a dedication to quality, transferring the craftsman abilities from one generation to the next. I've been with the company for 7 years this year. Even though I'm now regarded as the sales department's ace, things weren't always easy. I was an inexperienced rookie who rushed forward carelessly when I initially started working at Summit Textiles. I am confident our products will absolutely satisfy your customers. Once, without realizing it, I stood up in the client's reception area and exclaimed. I frantically committed the inventory to memory and reeled off technical jargon, but I was unable to come up with ideas that would work in practical settings. He's too eager for someone so young, customers would often think, frowning. I called 10 prospective customers every day out of desperation, but I was usually turned away at the front desk. However, I was completely transformed by a single remark made by a buying manager of a well-known company. Isaac, do you truly understand fabric? They were right. All I had done was memorize information from text. I hadn't even touched the actual products. From that day forward, I practically lived at the factory. I would arrive at work early in the morning to observe the production line. I watched the craftsmen's hands carefully and sought their guidance on everything, from selecting the right threads to the weaving process. Interesting. It's rare to see a sales rep so passionate, one veteran craftsman remarked. Initially, they were skeptical, but after seeing my dedication, they began sharing valuable insights. This fabric is special. It starts with carefully selected cotton from India. Depending on the day's temperature and humidity, we adjust the twist of the threads. That's why it lasts twice as long as a typical towel. And you feel that unique softness against your skin. It took us 10 years to achieve that. The information the craftsman shared was a treasure trove of details that didn't make it into the catalog. The more I engaged with the products, the more I appreciated the excellence of Summit Textiles' creations. My changed attitude went beyond the products themselves. I traveled across the country, visiting hotels to observe how the products were actually used. What situations were they used in? What kind of detergents were used to wash them? How did customers react to them? I documented all these observations in notebooks, filling 5 of them in a single year. This effort paid off, enabling me to offer products that genuinely met customer needs. Isaac, your recent proposals have improved significantly, remarked Ken, my manager, one day. Indeed, my success rate in closing deals had increased. Gradually, I started earning the trust of my clients. The turning point came in my 3rd year. I was entrusted with handling the negotiations with Turner Trading. Summit Textiles and Turner Trading, both fabric manufacturers, had been fierce rivals for years. However, Summit Textiles was entrusted with manufacturing the new amenity products for Turner Trading's luxury hotel, Celestia Hotels. As the person in charge of the deal, I was led to the main conference room at Turner Trading's headquarters. The room was so vast that it hardly felt like a conference room, even with its imposing and elegant meeting table. Taking it all in, I hesitated for a brief moment. "Thank you for waiting." Shah, the head of the hotel business division, entered the room. I had been informed beforehand that he was the person overseeing the launch of a major hotel chain. Behind him stood a woman with a dignified and composed presence. She was Sophia, Turner Trading's renowned and highly capable secretary. I noticed her discreetly observing me, her sharp gaze quietly assessing. After we exchanged business cards, I wasted no time and began the discussion. "Allow me to explain our proposal. Please take a look at this first." I carefully laid out the samples one by one on the table. Spring featured a gradient of cherry blossom pink. Summer evoked refreshing ocean waves in indigo blue. Autumn showcased a deep crimson reminiscent of maple leaves. Winter embodied pure white with woven snowflake patterns. The 4 towels told the story of Japan's seasons, right there on the table. We wanted every guest at Celestia Hotels to experience the beauty of Japan's seasons. With that vision, we developed the seasonal color series. Sean picked up one of the towels, examining it with interest. Sophia leaned forward slightly, intently inspecting the fabric. "The subtle gradation in these colors is stunning." "Thank you. It took 6 months of collaboration with our craftsmen to perfect the dye blend. Additionally, with our unique weaving techniques, the towels become softer with use while minimizing color fading after washing." I continued my explanation, presenting usage data and detailing the special weaving techniques. Sean and Sophia exchanged occasional glances as they listened intently. This is exactly what we've been looking for. While we'll need to iron out the details regarding pricing, we'd like to seriously consider moving forward, Sean said with conviction. Sophia gave me a small nod of approval as well. This project became the catalyst for Summit Textiles' reputation to skyrocket. Custom orders poured in, and my sales numbers reached 150% of the previous year's revenue. It was then that I earned the title Ace of the Sales Department. Even now, despite the accolades, I continue to visit the factory every week. I'd engage with the craftsmen, brainstorming new weaving techniques and exploring product possibilities. Those moments have become a source of genuine joy for me, never compromising on quality for the sake of our customers' styles. Continuing to make the right choices. This is the belief I've cultivated through lessons learned on the production floor and in building relationships with clients. I believe that the right choice means doing the very best you can for the sake of others, and I'm confident that such sincerity will always reach someone's heart. One day, during our department's monthly meeting, I projected my proposal onto the screen. Recently, we finalized a contract for the manufacturing of amenities for the new chain Heart Springs Inn, operated by the renowned hot spring resort Tranquil Waters. This deal is worth $15 million annually across all their locations. A wave of small cheers spread through the meeting room. Chain Heart Springs Inn has gained attention as a new style of inn, carefully selecting the finest hot springs from across the country and reimagining Japan's traditional hot spring culture in a modern way. Our company was chosen as the manufacturing partner for this flagship project, which stands as a symbol of their vision. Securing this partnership had been a long-held aspiration for our company. We're developing original weaves for their bath towels, face towels, and yukata, a traditional Japanese garment, tailored to their modern Japanese brand image. Our commitment to natural materials and sustainable production processes was highly valued. In particular, our unique treatment for fabrics resistant to hot spring water aligned perfectly with their quality standards, becoming the deciding factor. As I finished my explanation, the room erupted in warm applause. However, I noticed that Harvey was the only one wearing a stern expression. He kept his eyes fixed on the documents in front of him, refusing to even glance in my direction. Hemph. It's easy to brag when things go well, but don't get cocky. This was just a stroke of luck. His words brought an abrupt silence to the room. Looking up from his papers, Harvey shot a sharp glare at me. Isaac, for a deal of this magnitude, what will you do if it fails? Can you take responsibility for it? Yes, of course. I will take full responsibility for this. Oh? Is that so? Everyone, did you hear that? With a smirk tugging at the corner of his mouth, Harvey glanced around the room. Then, snapping the folder shut with a loud thud, he briskly exited the conference room. The remaining employees exchanged uneasy glances. The celebratory mood from earlier had instantly turned ice cold. Lately, I felt that Harvey had been deliberately shutting me out. Even last week, his behavior was noticeably strange. It was a Friday evening, and as I worked late, I passed by the conference room on my way to grab some paper for the copier. From inside, I could hear Harvey's voice. It wasn't his usual tone for entertaining clients. It sounded oddly tense, which caught my attention. About the inspection documents. Just as usual. Yes, I understand. The amount is the same as before. No, that's not acceptable. You have to follow my instructions. Harvey was speaking in hushed tones. The door to the conference room was closed, but his voice carried into the hallway, tinged with an unmistakable sense of urgency. Just then, our eyes met through the small window in the door. Harvey's face stiffened for an instant, his expression draining of color. He immediately stood up and flung the door open with force. Isaac, why are you still here? Go home. Now. His tone was uncharacteristically harsh, nearly shouting. Without a word, I left the area, sensing I had stumbled upon something I wasn't meant to hear. From that day on, Harvey's hostility toward me became blatant. I was tasked with calculating the costs for a new product, yet access to past production cost records was deliberately withheld from me. Harvey's attitude left me feeling somewhat suffocated. Even so, I resolved to pour all my energy into the job at hand. With renewed determination, I left the meeting room. Today was the day of the final negotiations with Chain Heart Springs Inn. This was a pivotal deal, one that could significantly boost the company's performance. $15 million. The thought of such a sum made me feel the weight of the responsibility. I triple-checked my materials and left home early. I'd walked the route to the venue, which I had scouted the previous day. There was still some time to spare. As I was about to cross the intersection near the station, it happened. I heard a faint sound of labored breathing. Turning around, I saw an elderly man in a suit leaning against a street tree for support. His face was deathly pale, and beads of cold sweat were forming on his forehead. Are you okay? I called out as I rushed over. The man looked up at me, his expression strained, and managed a weak smile. Sorry, my chest feels strange. As soon as the words left his mouth, the elderly man's body began to collapse slowly. I caught him instinctively. Without hesitation, I dialed 911. I believe it's a possible heart attack, I explained, and the operator began asking detailed questions about his condition. After providing all the information and ending the call, my phone buzzed with an incoming call. It was from Harvey. Isaac, I've been calling you. Why haven't you answered? Where are you? I just got word you haven't arrived at the venue yet. I'm sorry. I'm assisting a sick person near the station. What? Are you kidding me? Do you have any idea how critical today's negotiation is? I do. I'll head to the venue as soon as the ambulance arrives. What nonsense are you talking about? Get to the meeting right now. This is a $15 million deal. On the other end of the line, Harvey was yelling. The elderly man's breathing grew more labored. How many more minutes until the ambulance would arrive? I'm sorry, but this man's life is more important. Harvey was still shouting something, but I hung up the phone. I held the elderly man's hand. I'll stay with you until the ambulance arrives. Don't worry, you'll be okay. For the next 8 minutes until the paramedics arrived, I stayed by his side, constantly speaking to him. When the ambulance arrived and he was placed on the stretcher, the elderly man looked at me apologetically. I'm sorry. I must have made you miss something important. No. Saving a life takes priority. Please, take care of yourself. After watching the ambulance drive off, I quickly checked my phone. I was already 30 minutes late for the meeting. There were 52 missed calls, most of them from Harvey. I flagged down a taxi and rushed to the venue at full speed, but it was too late. When I arrived, the executives from Heart Springs had already left. According to my colleagues, they had waited for nearly an hour before canceling the contract and demanding a penalty of $500,000. They also announced the termination of all future dealings with us. When I returned to the office, Harvey was waiting for me. He wore a cold, cruel smile I had never seen before. I bowed deeply. I deeply apologized for being late to the meeting and causing the deal to fall through. However, I couldn't abandon the elderly man in that moment. Ha! Spare me your noble excuses. Listen, you're fired. What? I couldn't believe my ears. Harvey stood up and slammed a thick file onto the desk. Actually, we've uncovered proof of your misconduct. Falsified reports, duplicate expense claims, secret deals with clients. And there's plenty more. That's not true. I've never done anything like that. We have the evidence. Emails where you leaked company secrets to the executives of Heart Springs. And this delay, wasn't it all part of your scheme? No. I would never do such a thing. Such confidence. But can you say the same after looking at these documents? Harvey spread the documents across the desk. I couldn't believe my eyes. Sure enough, the papers bore what appeared to be my signature. But I had no memory of approving such documents. As you can see, the evidence is overwhelming. Now, hand in your resignation quietly, or I'll take legal action. Harvey's eyes gleamed with triumph. Harvey, I would never. Enough. Just submit your resignation. You're already fired. Harvey's shouting echoed through the office. Something was wrong. Clearly wrong. But I had no way to fight back. I had no evidence and no options. I had saved a life. That choice couldn't have been wrong. So why did things turn out this way? Dazed, I stared blankly at the resignation letter I had written. Then, with trembling hands, I handed it to Harvey. How much time had passed since I submitted it? I had no idea. I wandered aimlessly through the streets at dusk. The faces of the people passing by looked strangely full of life. Everyone walking by seemed to have a purpose. I no longer had that. When I looked up, I realized I was standing at the crosswalk near the station. It was the same place where the elderly man had collapsed that morning. I could still hear the faint sound of the ambulance siren echoing in my head. Isaac. Suddenly, I heard a voice from behind me. Turning around, I saw Sophia from Turner Trading standing there. She still had her usual poised demeanor, but she was slightly out of breath. I finally found you. I visited Summit Textiles, but they told me you had resigned. Her earnest gaze made me avert my eyes without thinking. Yes. Well, there's been a lot going on. Is it true that you were late to the meeting because you stopped to help an elderly man? What? You helped someone who collapsed at this very intersection this morning and even accompanied them in the ambulance. Isn't that right? How does she know about that? Before I could process my thoughts, Sophia continued. Isaac, would you consider working for our company? What? The sudden proposal caught me off guard. The person you helped this morning is actually the chairman of our company, Mr. Turner. The world around me seemed to spin for a moment. We'll offer you 10 times your current salary, so please. Sophia stepped closer, closing the distance between us. Her proximity made my heart race. Wait. Calm down. Sophia, 10 times. That's not something you can decide on your own. No, it's not my decision alone. If you don't believe me, you can hear it directly from Mr. Turner himself. He said he'll make time to meet you whenever necessary. Let's go. Sophia took my hand. Wait, you mean now? To the hospital? Yes, Mr. Turner has been waiting for you. The strength of her grip was surprising. Nervously, I decided to follow her. The hospital where Mr. Turner was admitted was about a 10-minute walk from the station. When we entered his room, Mr. Turner, propped up in bed, greeted me with a gentle smile. His complexion had improved dramatically since the morning. Ah, you've come. Thanks to you, my life was saved. Truly, thank you. No, not at all. Anyone else would have done the same. No, not everyone would. Especially not when they had such an important meeting to attend. I nodded silently. Mr. Turner's expression softened further as he continued. Business people today are too consumed by numbers. Of course, profit is important, but it can never replace a human life. Your decision this morning gave me great hope. He glanced at some documents on the bedside table. Actually, I've known about you for some time. Sophia has been reporting on your work, traveling across the country to hear directly from clients, immersing yourself in manufacturing sites, engaging with the craftsmen, and, above all, refusing to compromise on quality for the sake of the customer. I smiled. She's told you that much about me? Yes, Sophia is an excellent secretary, and her judgment is trustworthy. That's why I've wanted someone like you to join our team. What happened this morning only solidified my decision. Mr. Turner looked at Sophia with a kind expression. Sophia, you've done a great job researching him. I wasn't wrong to trust your instincts. Thank you. Sophia nodded with a delighted smile. Mr. Turner turned back to me. How about it? Your integrity and skills would be a great asset to our company. You've heard about the compensation from Sophia, haven't you? Consider it a token of my gratitude. His words brought out a question that had been bothering me all along. Sophia, why do you value me so much? Standing by the window, Sophia slowly turned toward me. The soft light of dusk gently illuminated her profile. It's because you changed me, Isaac. What? Do you remember when we worked together on the Celestia Hotels project? At first, I thought it was just another new initiative. As a secretary, I intended to handle it routinely and dispassionately, like any other task. Sophia began speaking quietly, her gaze drifting to the view outside the window. From the day I joined the company, I'd been a secretary who simply completed the tasks assigned to me. Every day felt like a repetitive cycle, passing without much thought. She paused briefly before continuing. But as I worked alongside you on the project, I began to change. Watching you carefully analyze each piece of survey data I collected and transform it into something tangible for the customers. Seeing you not just rely on data, but stay at hotels yourself to personally observe customer behavior, your sincere approach to work shook something inside me. Sophia's voice trembled slightly. What stood out the most was when you tested the prototypes. Normally, people would just review the quality assurance reports, but you said you'd take the sample home and actually use it overnight. When I asked why you'd go that far, you told me, to truly stand in the customer's shoes, I need to experience it myself. Those words left a deep impression on me. She turned to face me. Her eyes shone with a strong sense of determination. I started questioning why I worked. Was I just moving on autopilot? Or could I think deeper and focus on what truly matters? I wanted to be like you, doing work that genuinely benefits others. From then on, my approach to work changed. I didn't just collect customer surveys. I read into each one's intent and emotions. Through that, I began to understand what true hospitality meant. Sophia looked directly at me. And this morning, when I heard you had helped Mr. Turner, I became certain. Your actions aren't just idealistic, they're driven by a sincere belief. That's why I was so shocked to hear you resign to take responsibility. I couldn't bear the thought of losing someone I truly respect in such an unjust way. That's why I searched for you so desperately. Silence filled the hospital room, broken only by the soft hues of the setting sun. I noticed a small tear glinting in Sophia's eye. Almost unconsciously, I reached out and gently wiped it away with my finger. Sophia looked up at me, her eyes wide with surprise. Her cheeks were slightly flushed. It was only then that I realized what I had done. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. No, thank you. Sophia's voice was quiet, and her ears turned a bright shade of red as she looked down. As an awkward but strangely sweet atmosphere began to fill the room, Mr. Turner cleared his throat. I hate to interrupt this moment, but visiting hours are about to end. So, Isaac, let me ask you again. Will you walk this new path with us? After hearing Sophia's story, I was more certain than ever that my instincts were right. We need someone like you, someone with integrity and conviction. Mr. Turner's words snapped me back to reality, and I stole a quick glance at Sophia. Her gaze was filled with hope and anticipation. Taking a deep breath, I replied, "Yes, I'd be honored." My voice carried no hesitation, surprising me too. Mr. Turner nodded with satisfaction. "Thank you. Sophia, I'll leave his orientation to you, starting tomorrow." "Yes, Mr. Turner." Sophia's voice was unusually cheerful. As I gazed out at the city, now enveloped by the night, I thought about what lay ahead. I'd be able to stay true to my beliefs in this new place. The warmth growing in my chest assured me of that. 6 months had passed since I joined Turner Trading. At first, I'd been anxious about joining a rival company, but those fears proved unfounded. In fact, the field-oriented approach I had honed at Summit Textiles became my greatest asset. This morning, I was once again heading to inspect the production line. When I arrived, Timothy, the factory manager, greeted me with a smile. "Isaac, you're here again." "Yes. How's the new equipment running?" "The equipment is running smoothly, thanks to your suggestion. By fine-tuning the temperature controls, the defect rate has significantly decreased." The familiar hum of the machinery was comforting. Over the past few months, I had gradually become part of Turner Trading's manufacturing scene. Titus, the weaving supervisor, held up a prototype and commented, "This idea of yours is fascinating, Isaac. Just changing the combination of warp and weft threads has transformed the texture so much. Previously, we increased density for strength, but by adjusting the twist of the threads and altering weaving pressure, we've managed to achieve both lightness and durability. It's also less prone to washing damage and dries faster." Yes, it was a concept shelved at my previous company, but I thought it might be possible with the advanced equipment here. I'm glad we tried it. This could cater to high-end airline demand as well. Titus admired the fabric under the light, nodding in appreciation. When I returned to the office, Sophia approached me. "The quarterly results are in," she said, showing me her tablet. 3 new development projects and a 150% increase in additional orders from existing clients in the past 6 months. Sales in your assigned area have been steadily growing. Sophia flipped through the data. Your work has been highly rated by the field teams. Comments like, "Isaac listens carefully to our opinions, and his proposals are backed by solid technical understanding," which gives us confidence in the manufacturing process keep coming up. In addition, there's been growing interest from overseas. The water-saving technology you proposed has been recognized as an environmentally friendly innovation, unlike anything else in the world. That's encouraging. Next, I'd like to focus on expanding internationally. Actually, there's a meeting with a Middle Eastern distributor next week. They specifically requested to meet with you. I'll be happy to attend. Please arrange the schedule. New meeting appointments kept appearing on my tablet as we spoke. It felt like there was potential to create even more exciting products moving forward. This was one of those moments when I truly felt the rewards of this work. In the 13th floor meeting room, I reviewed the materials for today's discussion, considering new business opportunities with Summit Textiles. The moment I saw the title, my chest tightened. A meeting with my former company. Honestly, I would have avoided it if I could, but this was work. I didn't have the luxury of avoiding it. Sophia quietly opened the door. The client has arrived. Excuse me. The moment Harvey stepped into the room and saw me, he froze mid-sentence. It was our first meeting in 6 months. His eyes widened in shock, the color draining from his face. Why are you here? His voice trembled, a mixture of anger and disbelief. I noticed his hands unconsciously gripping his documents tightly. Sophia looked confused, glancing between Harvey and me. Coming back to himself, Harvey forced a smile. My apologies. I was just surprised to see a familiar face. Now, let me present our proposal. He placed a thick document on the table. As he flipped through the pages, his hands were visibly stiff. Celestia Hotels plans to open 20 locations nationwide this fiscal year, correct? We propose to supply all the linens for your properties. Delivery within 3 weeks, costs reduced by 25%, and a 10-year quality guarantee. This is the essence of our proposal. Is that even possible? The words escaped my mouth before I could stop myself. For high-end hotel towels, it typically takes at least 6 weeks from thread procurement to completion. He was claiming to cut production time to less than half, while also reducing costs. And as for the quality guarantee, it was more than double the industry standard. Harvey shot me a cold glare, his voice sharp. Of course, it's possible. At our company, we've made it happen. In just the past 6 months, Summit Textiles has undergone a complete transformation, with sales growing 200% year over year. It was true that I had heard about Summit Textiles' rapid success. It had even been featured in industry journals, but something felt off. Given their production capacity, the proposed timeline seemed physically impossible. And offering this level of cost reduction with a 10-year quality guarantee, it didn't add up. What stood out most was the vagueness in the quality data section, something critical for high-end hotel products. I lowered my gaze to the materials. The numbers are certainly written clearly. However, there's no reporting data to back them up anywhere. Could you explain the detailed production process? That's confidential. For a split second, I thought I saw his eyes waver. Sensing the heavy tension in the room, Sophia subtly stepped in to shift the conversation. Since this is our initial meeting, we'll take your proposal back for internal review and discuss it further, she said, her voice carrying a clear intent to wrap up the discussion diplomatically. Yes, that's fine. We'll submit more detailed figures and process explanations in writing later. He stood up abruptly, relief flickering across his face. It looked as though he couldn't wait to leave the room. A few days later, while Sophia and I were preparing for a meeting in the conference room, angry shouts suddenly echoed from the hallway. Isaac, come out here. The meeting room. The door burst open, and Harvey stormed in, his face flushed with anger. His tie was askew, and beads of sweat dotted his forehead. Isaac, what are you trying to pull? Stealing all our clients one by one. The sharp sound of his fist hitting the table made me freeze for a moment. Seeing my former boss in such a state left me speechless. The airlines, the luxury hotel chains, every single one of them has cut ties with us in the past 3 months. Our sales have dropped by 30%, and every single contract has gone to Turner Trading. You know our costs, quality standards, and production timelines inside out. You've been using that information to sabotage us, haven't you? You've even been beating us to market with new product developments. I have not done anything of the sort, I replied calmly. It's true that I've drawn from my experiences at Sumit Textiles, but only in terms of my approach to product development. I've never once used confidential information. Liar. Sophia stood up, attempting to calm him down. Harvey, please. Let's stay calm. Stay out of this. This is between me and Isaac. A secretary shouldn't interfere. His words prompted me to rise and gently motion for Sophia to step back. I took a deep breath before facing Harvey. Harvey, we haven't stolen clients. It was the clients who approached Turner Trading, asking to switch their business. We found it puzzling at first, too. But after our recent discussions, the reason became clear. The terms you've been proposing are simply unworkable. The room grew tense. A 3-week production timeline for high-end hotel products is physically impossible. For premium materials, it takes 2 weeks just to procure the raw materials, another 2 weeks for weaving, and at least 1 week for quality testing. That's the industry standard. We made it possible, Harvey shot back. Then let me ask, how are you handling quality control? Durability testing, friction testing, absorbency testing. Skipping these might shorten production time, but it would compromise quality. The same applies to the 25% cost reduction. At that price, sourcing genuine Egyptian extra-long staple cotton is impossible. Harvey's face stiffened. I retrieved a set of documents I had prepared for our next meeting and opened them. Flipping to a page, I showed it to him. We analyzed recent delivery samples provided by your clients. While the surface appears to use genuine Egyptian cotton, the core contains standard short fibers. This drastically reduces durability. Normally, this kind of analysis would be confidential, but your clients approached us expressing concerns about quality. That's why we conducted the investigation. Harvey's face grew pale. I turned another page, and that's not all. This contract here, its quality assurance clauses are vague, and it doesn't clearly define compensation for defective products. This would leave clients in a difficult position if issues arise. I pulled a single document from the stack in front of me. And here is your company's cost calculation sheet from the last meeting. It shows that the procurement cost of thread was recorded at 1.5 times the market price. Where exactly did the difference go? Stop it, Harvey's voice trembled. But I paid no mind and continued, calmly yet firmly. The difference was reported as part of the cost of production for fictitious orders, then funneled into backdoor deals to bypass quality inspections. By cutting corners like this, you reduced costs and shortened delivery times. Meanwhile, you provided customers with contracts that waived their right to file claims, ensuring your company bore no responsibility for any problems. Harvey, does Mr. Adams, the president of Sumit Textiles, know about these practices? If this kind of deceit continues, it will ultimately hurt the customers and damage the entire industry's trust. Harvey's face grew increasingly pale. What do you know? He muttered. I know because I've worked on the ground. I've seen the pride and skill of the craftsman. Betraying that with practices like these is unacceptable. Shut up. This is how business works. You have to turn a blind eye to things. That's the way adults do it, Harvey shouted. I looked straight into his eyes. Precisely because it's business, we must be honest. Betray a customer's trust, and it will come back to haunt you. What's happening now will inevitably come to light. The room fell silent, the tension thick. Sophia watched our exchange with bated breath. Harvey's expression shifted from anger to confusion. He ruffled his hair in frustration. Damn it. I didn't think you'd go as far as analyzing the products. And after all the trouble I went through to fabricate evidence and get you fired. What? I widened my eyes at his unexpected confession. Still shaking, Harvey continued. You heard me on the phone, arranging the forgery, didn't you? You were always poking around on the production floor, talking to the craftsman. And you were unnervingly sharp about cost calculations. I knew you'd eventually figure out the fraud. That's why I had to get rid of you. You fired me over something like that. My words seemed to flip a switch in Harvey's expression. Something like that, you say. You wouldn't understand. In this industry, you don't climb the ladder without results. Nobody cares about the details as long as the numbers look good. I've worked my ass off to reach the top. If it means cutting quality, inflating costs, or taking kickbacks, so be it. That's what it takes to make it in this industry. The sound of his fist slamming the table echoed through the room. At that moment, the door quietly opened. What's all this noise about? A calm voice filled the room. Turning around, I saw Mr. Turner standing in the doorway. Sophia, when you didn't show up at the scheduled time, I came to check on you, but... Mr. Turner's words trailed off. He had noticed Harvey's presence. Harvey. At the sound of that voice, Harvey's body stiffened. The color drained from his face, and his lips trembled. Father. The word escaped his lips in a barely audible whisper. Mr. Turner is Harvey's father. A heavy silence settled over the room. The two men stared at each other as if time had frozen. Harvey's hand unconsciously gripped the edge of the table, as if being pulled back into old memories. He stared at Mr. Turner with vacant eyes. What a coincidence to meet you here. Perfect timing. Listen up. I'll tell you how I clawed my way up after you abandoned me. At that moment, the emotions Harvey had suppressed for years burst forth like a dam breaking. Harvey lost his mother when he was very young. In a stark white hospital room, he held her hand tightly. At just 6 years old, he couldn't understand why his mother's face was growing pale or why the nurses were rushing around so frantically. All he could feel was the coldness creeping into her hand, a sensation that etched itself deeply into his heart. Harvey. I wish I could have held on a little longer. I'm sorry. His mother's frail voice echoed through the hospital room. Those were the last words she left for Harvey. After her death, Harvey was taken in by his maternal grandparents. Even though he had a father, Harvey couldn't understand why he wasn't with him. One day, while knitting, his grandmother explained gently, Your father, he's too busy running the company. He said he doesn't have the capacity to take care of a wife and child. Did my father abandon me? His grandmother didn't answer. She simply stopped knitting and gently stroked young Harvey's head. To his 60-year-old mind, her silence was confirmation. From that moment, the memory of holding his mother's hand in that sterile hospital room began to transform into a burning desire for revenge. Harvey enrolled in a commercial high school and later studied business administration at university. He had one clear goal: to exact revenge on his father and Turner Trading, the company he chose over his wife and son. The Turner Trading he cared for more than his family. I'll destroy it. Then he'll know how it feels. With this resolve in his heart, Harvey applied to Summit Textiles after graduation. During the interview, he played the part of an ambitious young man. I'll make Summit Textiles surpass Turner Trading. Unbeknownst to them, his words were a declaration of revenge. After joining the company, he was always the first to arrive and the last to leave. He consistently ranked at the top in promotion exams. Clients highly valued him, and he delivered one success after another. Eventually, he rose to the position of department head. However, it was around this time that Harvey's performance began to stagnate. Meanwhile, Turner Trading's profits continued to climb steadily. Seeing the gap widen, Harvey grew increasingly anxious. Realizing that instead of achieving his revenge, the distance between them was only growing, he thought, what am I missing? He stared at performance reports in the office late into the night. Suppliers demanded price cuts, and internal pressures mounted to improve profit margins. One day, a supplier made a suggestion. Why don't you inflate the production cost slightly on this contract? It started as a small deception, inflating production costs, loosening quality standards, falsifying inspection data. Gradually, his methods grew bolder. This way, I'll definitely surpass Turner Trading. It was during a call to arrange a forgery that I happened to walk in. Harvey panicked. Of all people, Isaac had to hear me. If this keeps up, he'll uncover everything. Driven by fear and desperation, Harvey decided to force me out of the company. Late one night in the meeting room, he sat before an envelope. Inside was a collection of old invoices he had obtained from the accounting department. If I alter these, I can fabricate all the evidence I need. Inflated expenses, duplicate travel claims. His hand trembled slightly as he wielded the pen. He rewrote figures and forged stamps. The guilt gnawed at him momentarily, but was quickly brushed aside. This isn't enough. From his desk drawer, he retrieved data that he had secretly copied from my computer, emails sent to external contacts. He altered the recipient and contents to make it appear as though I had been in close correspondence with Heartsprings Incorporated. He even went as far as fabricating file names to suggest I had shared classified information, such as quality data and cost calculations. Finally, he crafted a fake contract, stamped with a forged seal resembling mine. It was the ultimate piece of evidence, framing me for breach of confidentiality. Moreover, a perfectly timed opportunity presented itself to Harvey. I was late to the critical negotiation with the Heartsprings Incorporated group. As a result, the deal was canceled. Ha! It's as if the heavens are on my side. Isaac ruined the negotiation and caused massive losses for the company. With this, no one will question the forged evidence. It's perfect. Amid the commotion in the office over the canceled contract, Harvey wore a sinister smile. Having recounted everything in one breath, Harvey let out a long exhale. Then, he turned a sharp glare toward Mr. Turner. I hate you. His voice trembled with rage. My mother's last words were, I'm sorry. She apologized for leaving me behind. But the one who should have apologized wasn't her. It was you. Mr. Turner's face clouded with pain. You never visited her in the hospital. Not even once. On the day of her funeral, you didn't show up. You were too busy running your company, weren't you? You didn't care about us. No, you probably thought we were a burden. That's why you didn't take me in. Harvey's bitter smile deepened as he continued. My mother lost her life because she was trying to protect your company. I could never forgive you for disregarding her life. That's why I decided I would surpass you and destroy your precious company. That became my life's purpose. Tears gleamed in Harvey's eyes. The resentment in his voice sounded as though it had been nurtured from childhood, growing heavier with each passing year. Joining Summit Textiles was all part of my plan for revenge. I worked hard, climbed the ranks, and reached this position. I didn't care what methods I used, be it fraud, forgery, or worse. It was all for one purpose, to bring you down. As Harvey finished his confession, he was left gasping for breath, as if he had expended all his energy. His face reflected a mix of anger, sorrow, and an indescribable complexity of emotions. At that moment, Sophia stepped forward. Mr. Turner, I apologize. I know you asked me not to say anything, but I believe it's time to share the truth. Sophia's usually composed voice trembled slightly. Mr. Turner closed his eyes and gave a small nod. Taking his signal, Sophia looked directly at Harvey, her gaze unwavering. Harvey, I've heard about the time when your mother, Mr. Turner's wife, passed away. She suffered from an incurable disease. Mr. Turner searched tirelessly for treatments. He consulted doctors worldwide and tried every possible option. He visited the hospital every day, but ultimately, she couldn't overcome her illness. Harvey's expression shifted subtly. I was asked not to reveal this, but I believe you have the right to know. Your father, Mr. Turner, did everything he could to save her. A heavy silence settled over the conference room. The long years of distance between father and son made the quiet even more profound. And regarding why you weren't taken in by Mr. Turner, I'd like to explain that as well. Sophia continued cautiously. Harvey's gaze snapped toward her, his eyes searching for answers. Sophia took a deep breath and chose her words carefully. Your mother's parents were strongly opposed to her marriage to Mr. Turner from the beginning. They thought he was too young and unstable as a businessman. Despite their objections, they married, but the tension never disappeared. Mr. Turner's face twisted with the memory of that pain. After your mother passed away, your grandparents insisted, "We will take Harvey in." Someone consumed by business cannot care for a child. They demanded that Mr. Turner sever ties completely. My grandmother said that. Harvey's voice trembled. Yes, Mr. Turner tried to persuade them, but they refused, saying it was karma for causing their daughter's death. Even his request to have occasional contact with you was denied. The only thing he could do was watch over your growth from afar. Harvey's expression was overtaken by surprise at Sophia's words. She stepped forward, meeting Harvey's gaze directly. In her eyes burned a steadfast determination. However, Mr. Turner never abandoned you. When you wanted to attend a commercial high school, he anonymously covered all your tuition through a scholarship. The same was true for your university education in business administration. You might believe you achieved everything through your own efforts, but the truth is, he was always there, supporting you. That can't be. Harvey's voice shook. When you joined Summit Textiles, Mr. Turner was worried but said, "If it's the path Harvey chose, it must have meaning." He chose to continue supporting you from a distance. With every promotion, he celebrated silently. "That's my son, a hard worker, just like me," he'd say. But he couldn't tell you any of this. All he could do was quietly watch your progress. Sophia's voice grew stronger as she spoke. Tears streamed down Harvey's face. Sophia turned to glance at me briefly before returning her gaze to Harvey. And the man who saved Mr. Turner's life, your father's life, was none other than Isaac, the one you wrongfully forced out. Despite the critical importance of his business meeting, he sacrificed everything to save a life. That act reflects the very value your father has cherished, compassion for others. Yet you framed and exiled Isaac, the person who embodied the heart your father values most. The room was enveloped in deep silence. Harvey's shoulders began to shake as his tears continued to fall, his emotions overwhelming him. "Father." The words escaped Harvey in a hoarse whisper. This wasn't how it was supposed to be. Harvey's words faltered, and he lowered his head. Tears quietly streamed from his eyes. "I've been so wrong all along." His trembling hands covered his face, his voice shaking with emotion. "Father, I've been wrong all along." It was the voice of a child seeking comfort from a parent. "I've hated you for so long. I blamed you for everything, losing my mother and leaving me behind. I thought it was all your fault. But I didn't know anything. I didn't know you tried to save her. I didn't know you wanted to take me in. And I didn't know you were watching over me all this time." With a trembling voice, Harvey spoke these words as he bowed deeply. "I'm sorry. My hatred for you drove me to do unforgivable things. I committed fraud to boost the company's numbers. I drove Isaac out of the company with fabricated evidence, all to get revenge on you. But I was wrong. My actions hurt innocent people, including the man who saved your life. I've been such a fool." Harvey's words faltered. At that moment, Mr. Turner's large hand gently rested on his son's shoulder. "Harvey, the one who should be apologizing is me." At the sound of his father's voice, filled with deep affection, Harvey lifted his face. "Father, I failed to protect you. I couldn't save your mother, and I couldn't hold on to you. As a businessman, I was able to secure the livelihoods of my employees. But I failed at the most important thing, bringing happiness to my own family. Watching you grow from afar, unable to be by your side, was a torment I can never describe. But that was the price of my own failings." Mr. Turner gazed at Harvey, his eyes brimming with tears, ready to spill over at any moment. Large tears rolled down Harvey's cheeks. "Father, Please let me start over. I'll return to Summit Textiles and reveal all the wrongdoing. I'll apologize to everyone I've hurt. I'll choose the right path, the one my mother would have been proud of, and I'll walk it." Hearing this, Mr. Turner gave a gentle nod before pulling his son into a firm, heartfelt embrace. For the first time in decades, father and son were united by a genuine bond. Sophia and I watched the scene in silence, moved by the reconciliation before us. The golden light of the setting sun streamed through the conference room window, casting a warm glow on the two of them. Harvey turned to me. "Isaac, I owe you an apology as well. My foolish actions caused you so much pain. There's no need. I understand your feelings now." Sophia quietly opened the door to the conference room. Gently encouraged, Harvey stepped out into the hallway. As I watched his retreating figure, I silently wished for him to find his way down the right path. 3 months passed. At Summit Textiles, a large-scale internal investigation was launched following Harvey's revelations. He confessed to all the wrongdoing without hiding anything, taking full responsibility. He stepped down from his position and chose to start over from the factory floor. This time, I want to truly honor the dedication of the craftsmen on the factory floor. Harvey's expression no longer showed desperation or resentment. Instead, he approached each step of the process with sincerity, determined to regain the trust he had lost. Gradually, Harvey also began rebuilding his relationship with his father, Mr. Turner. At a recent technical exchange event, where craftsmen from both companies showcased their skills, Mr. Turner sought Harvey's opinion. "Harvey, what do you think of this weaving technique? There's still room for improvement in balancing sustainability and quality." Seeing his son's passionate engagement, Mr. Turner nodded with evident satisfaction. "It seems Harvey has truly found his way back to the right path," Sophia murmured softly with a smile. I nodded quietly. Even if one strays from the path, the courage to recognize their mistakes and make amends ensures they can always start anew. Harvey's transformation spoke volumes about that truth more eloquently than words ever could. Meanwhile, my work at Turn Trading was going smoothly. Since the incident with Harvey, my dedication to the field had garnered recognition from Mr. Turner. I was now entrusted with large-scale projects in the Middle East and Southeast Asia. Isaac's proposal for the eco-friendly new material has received high praise, Sophia said, spreading out the reports. Her satisfaction was evident as she reviewed the sales figures, which had increased by over 200% compared to the previous year. Sustainability isn't just a buzzword, is it? One of the new employees remarked in awe. I smiled. No, it's not. Balancing environmental considerations with quality may seem like contradictory goals, but achieving both creates true value. Mr. Turner had been watching over my work with warm approval. Thanks to Isaac, our company has started to change. During the recent management meeting, I felt a bit embarrassed when those words were said. Still, I felt a sense of fulfillment. Prioritizing quality while being environmentally conscious is by no means an easy journey, but by sincerely engaging with the craftsmen and continuously listening to the voices of our customers, I believe the answers will always reveal themselves. With that conviction, I had to work every day. On my desk lay a stack of proposals for new projects. Yet, even with everything appearing to go smoothly, there was still one thing I had yet to resolve. After work, I mustered my courage and approached Sophia at her desk. She was organizing some documents. "Sophia, do you have any plans for this evening?" She gracefully lifted her gaze. "No, nothing in particular." "Then, would you like to join me for dinner?" "Oh, yes, I'd love to." Sophia quickly tidied up her documents, grabbed her bag, and stood beside me. We ended up at a restaurant near the office. After finishing our meal, as the coffee was served, I decided to broach the topic. "Sophia, I want to thank you again for that day. When I was forced to leave Summit Textiles, if you hadn't found me at the station and searched so tirelessly, I wouldn't be where I am today. The rich aroma of coffee rose from the white cup. Sophia gently lowered her gaze. Not at all. I just didn't want you to be unhappy. No, Sophia. You also helped mend the relationship between Harvey and Mr. Turner. You created the opportunity to clear up years of misunderstanding. And because of that, the suspicions against me were cleared. It's all thanks to you. Sophia's eyes shimmered with emotion. Do you think I've been able to help someone? Have I become someone like you, Isaac? To that question, I answered without hesitation. Sophia, you've changed my life, and I hope we can continue to help others together from now on. Isaac. Her cheeks flushed faintly. The soft restaurant lighting gently illuminated her profile. She wasn't the composed secretary I usually knew, but a charming woman full of warmth. Sophia. Her eyes wavered slightly. I love you. Not just as a colleague, but as a woman. Will you walk through life with me from now on? Yes, I love you too, Isaac. Atop the table, our fingers intertwined softly. Outside the window, a sky full of stars glimmered. In life, there are moments when doing the right thing doesn't seem to pay off. I had missed an important meeting to help a collapsed elderly man. As a result, I lost my job. At that time, I doubted countless times whether the choice I made was truly the right one. But a path chosen with conviction will always resonate with someone's heart. The decision to prioritize a human life moved both Sophia and Mr. Turner, and ultimately led to reconciliation with Harvey. To do the best you can for others, that sentiment will always reach someone. I firmly believe that,